Well, it's been a couple of weeks now since the NFL has released the 2025 schedule. And of course, the day after, I did my full schedule prediction show, as just about everyone does. But now I've had a couple of weeks to sit with it, to chew on it, to dive deeper, not into just the Seahawks schedule, but that of their opponents. And there's three games that continue to stand out to me as being pivotal to how the season might turn out. And not just that, but they might tell us the most about what this team is in Mike Macdonald's second year as head coach and who this team is. Three crucial games that are going to tell us who this Seahawks team is. Spotlighted up next on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Hope you all had a nice Memorial Day weekend. I got out of town for a couple of days. The fiance and I spent some time with some family. That was cool. And took a little break away from content. Now we come back. The Seahawks officially in phase 3 of OTAs now. Rookies, veterans working out together. We'll take a closer look at that over the next couple of days of what people that are there and watching those workouts have to say about some of the performances they're seeing as the off-season practice hyperbole kicks into full gear. Saw something today I've never seen before put out by ESPN Cleveland. Didn't know that was a thing, where they actually listed the official, and I'm doing official in air quotes if you're watching on YouTube, quarterback passing stats, comparing all 5 of the quarterbacks there in Cleveland camp after these practices, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. But anyway, I digress. Before we get into today's show, big shout out and thank you to those of you who have hopped on over to the new Patreon page and signed up for tier memberships. Just one video and one audio episode over there to start with, as we did that heading into Memorial Day weekend, but lots more to come, including I'll be working tomorrow on a Patreon only film breakdown. Look forward to that. The link will be down below if you want to sign up for that. And there is a 7-day free trial for all the membership tiers. But lots of cool stuff planned for that channel. And the biggest one is, for those of you who are watching on YouTube and might not even have a YouTube Premium membership, is everything over there will be ad-free. And also I can do the All-22 stuff because there's a little bit of a different copyright standard over there as well. So really looking forward to it. We get to chat together. It's very similar to YouTube. If you haven't checked out Patreon, you can comment on the videos and so forth. There's an app, or you can just do it on the computer. So check that out. Really appreciate it. And especially to those of you who have signed up already. Meanwhile, the best way to support the channel here on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That lets YouTube know that you like what you're watching, and then it pushes it out to more people that might want to see it. There's a couple other ways you can directly donate, as I am a full-time independent content creator. Those are all linked down below as well. So let's do this. Let's get into the schedule. And if you saw my prediction show, I had them going 11-5. I kind of went out of my way to try and be aware of my bias and my affinity for this team and my optimism of where they're headed. Try to be as realistic as possible and take into account that you're going to lose games that you think 3-4 months out should be easily winnable. Vice versa. There's probably a couple of games that look really daunting on the schedule that the Seahawks will end up winning. And shoot, maybe they'll win all of them. But I was thinking about this over a lot of driving over the last few days, a lot of time to think about the channel and future plans. Came up with some cool ideas. Stay tuned for those. And then just things I wanted to talk about. And that was certainly one of them. I kept thinking about these few games that I like to call pivot points, right? Just crucial times on the calendar where certain factors come together to make those games a little bit more important, for lack of a better term, than others. So let's get into that. And I'm going to start with week 4 at Arizona. Now, many of you, let me just cover this right off the top, might think, well, what about week 1 at home against San Francisco? A team that everybody is just, all these analysts are expecting them to just bounce back into the double-digit win territory, despite the fact that there's still some questions about depth on the offensive line. No more Deebo Samuel. Don't know about Brandon Ayuk's health. And that they've completely revamped their entire defensive line and much of their front seven as well. And that, these experts and analysts just expect that all to click immediately while they continue to pick the Seahawks third and fourth in the division. Don't get me started on that. We've already talked about that. We'll continue to talk about that. But week one, it's just because the reason I didn't choose that game, A, it's a little bit obvious. And B, week one is so unpredictable and so volatile that, we tend to overreact to week one, and yet then in week two, and we get a lot of surprises in week one, and then week two, you get the correction and you start to see who teams really are. And so I'm already on record. If you haven't seen the prediction show yet, where I go game by game, I'll make sure to link that. And I go over my reasons why I have the Seahawks winning that opening game at Lumen Field week one against the Niners. So that's why. Week four, to me, is the first one. And this could be, the first of what I call pivot points of the season. Now, I've got them starting the season at 2-1. And so then you travel to Arizona, a primetime game, right? September 25th, 5:15 Pacific time, Thursday night football. You're coming off of a game or a week 3 against New Orleans at home, a team that you should beat, and I have them beating. And you're playing an Arizona team at that time that could be flying high. They're getting a lot of love in the offseason. They're being picked pretty routinely to finish ahead of the Seahawks. I've seen them being picked as high as second. This tends to happen every offseason. People fall in love with the Cardinals. They forget who Kyler Murray is. They think this is the year he's going to put it all together. If you've watched the show for any length of time, you know my feelings on Kyler Murray. I like things the Cardinals have done in the last couple of drafts. I like the direction that they're headed with Monty Ossenfort as the general manager. It's just, you think the Seahawks roster is young. Like, it is just such a young roster. And they did add to it. They supplemented in free agency. I like some of the moves they made there. It's just, for me, it's an issue about the quarterback, and it's how many new pieces can you have in place and how quickly can that come together. And I still have questions about Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing and their ability to really elevate that roster. So we'll see. But they could be flying high because weeks 1 and 2, they play the Saints and Panthers. Then they play the Niners before they play the Seahawks. They could come into this thing at 3-0, flying high, feeling good. And at that point, I would assume they're going to be the talk of the league, right? The Cinderella Arizona Cardinals finally growing up, turning a corner in front of our eyes. So really, it's a tremendous opportunity for the Seahawks to establish where they sit in the division. I'm picking the Rams to win it. I think they're the clear favorite. And so who's going to be that second team to step up and potentially challenge them as the calendar moves forward throughout the season? So primetime game on the road, see how a young roster handles that against another young team. The offense that has had so many changes this offseason, both on the coaching side, schematically and personnel-wise, you would think after 3 weeks, we might hopefully start to see them come together if they do experience some of those growing pains in the first few weeks, which would be understandable. And if they do come into this game at 2-1, it becomes really crucial that playing a division team, they have the opportunity then to go 3-1. And I think at that point would put themselves firmly in place, provided everything went that way, as the biggest challenger to the Rams. But the flip side of that is this. What if they stumble out of the gate? Right? What if they lose the opener to the Niners? I mean, you're talking about an offense with Kyle Shanahan at the helm and Brock Purdy newly extended, where there's continuity there despite Debo not being there anymore, Ayuk maybe not being in the lineup or potentially not being his former self health-wise. But there's enough continuity. And I talked in the schedule show about how the really intriguing matchup week one is going to be an offense for the Niners that should be expected to start the season strong against a defense in the Seahawks with a lot of continuity, right? All the starters back, 13 or 14 players, I think, that started games last year, plus DeMarcus Lawrence. Like, the strength of the Seahawks roster, continuity-wise, starting the season will be on defense, and for the Niners, it'll be on offense. that offense, if it takes a little time to get going for the Seahawks, should be starting to come together by week 4, you would think. On top of that, the Cardinals traditionally, despite the fact that almost every offseason they seem to be one of the kind of trendy picks to have a breakthrough season, they get off to poor starts. The last 3-4 seasons, really, really bad starts. So even if they start 2-0, they lose that game to the Niners in Santa Clara, Seahawks with a chance to kind of step on them a little bit, drop them to 2-2, improve themselves to 2-2 if they struggle, and I have them losing to the Steelers in week 2. For, again, reasons that are covered in that other video. Not going to get into them here. But they could very well go 2-1. I feel that good about their chances to do that. Get themselves to 3-1, knock the Cardinals down to 2-2, make a statement early in the season after what would be the quarter pole, unofficially, is now it's 17 games, can't really do that, and establish an early pecking order in the NFC West. That's why I like that game as the first pivot point, the first crucial matchup that's going to tell us who this team is. The next one, not a divisional game, but one that could be important when it comes to NFC seeding, and that's week 9 at Washington, Sunday Night Football, 5:20 p.m. Pacific time. The Seahawks coming off their bye week. Now, in my schedule prediction, I've got them starting off 4-3. Many of you were adamant that I was being too objective, trying too hard to keep it realistic, and many, if not most of you, have them going 5-2 through the early part of the schedule. Okay, either way. The Seahawks coming off their bye for this game. They should be healthy. They should be fresh. Again, that offense, if there are growing pains early on, you would hope that by this time they would start to come together and gel. It's one of the reasons, it's one of the things that this game should tell us. You also might get some reinforcements. If guys are banged up early on, you get that bye week, get them back. Could get Riley Mills added to the mix, although, rookie making his debut, who knows what kind of juice he's going to add to that defense, but potentially there could be other personnel changes. We saw last year, of course, the bye week was crucial in reshaping that linebacker group. They traded for Ernest Jones right before the bye and then moved on from Terrell Dodson during the bye, and so really established Tyrese Knight, Ernest Jones on the interior, and we saw the impact that had on that defense. It's yet another road game, East Coast road game, although prime time at night, so shouldn't have, the jet lag issues, but facing a team that's coming off a 12-win season, made it to the NFC Championship game last year. They're top 5 in the league as far as most returning members of their 53-man roster to end the year, so a lot of continuity there. Dan Quinn's second year in the program with a young, elite quarterback. That is a big test for this team and for Mike McDonald's defense. Now, Seattle has a little bit of an advantage here, potentially. They are going to be the most rested team, even though the Commanders play at home. Seattle obviously coming off the bye, while the Commanders play the Chiefs at Arrowhead the Monday before, 6 days prior. Commanders' early season schedule, not a cakewalk. They've got some tricky games there. They have a road trip to Green Bay. That'll be a fascinating game. They have a road trip to the West Coast to play the LA Chargers, who I expect to be really good and very physical this year. Among their first 7. This could play a big part in NFC playoff seeding, and let us know again exactly how much this Mike McDonald defense fares, how well they fare against a big-time, dual-threat, playoff-tested quarterback in year 2. That's why this was a pivot game for me. Plus, it's kind of the unofficial midpoint of the season, even though, again, you have the unbalanced schedule now, but coming off that week 8 bye can really set the tone for the second half. You're going to know going into the bye week where you stand in the division, and then you come out and you play a team like this, a team that's going to be in the playoffs, I would assume. They're seeding on the line. This another statement game, potentially, for this team. Now, the third one may surprise some of you. For me, it's Week 16 at home against the LA Rams. Another primetime game that played a minor part in these decisions, but it just kind of worked out that way. Like as I kept looking at the schedule and going over this, it just so happened that these are all primetime games. And they all do play a factor, but it wasn't the overriding reason that I chose these games. But maybe the league is thinking the same thing I am, and that's why these games are getting some of that primetime love. So why this one and not the first game against the Rams in Week 11 in LA? So this one is my choice, presuming, of course, they'll be in prime position at this point for a playoff spot, which I have them being in my prediction. And they may still have a shot at this point with 3 weeks left in the season to unseat the Rams for the division title. So obviously that would make this a crucial game. And in my schedule prediction, I had them coming into this game at 9-5. I think it'll be the biggest test of the season when it comes to finding out if that Lumen Field crowd can really be the asset that they used to be. Hopefully by this point of the season, we're not asking those same questions and lodging those same complaints we did last year about people selling seats to non-Seahawk fans, and that the momentum will be growing. The crowd, the fans start to see what this season could be and what this team might be developing into. And then, the hated Rams come in as the division favorite, a chance to really make some noise in prime time. Assuming there will be growth throughout the schedule and the ups and downs early on of the young roster, as I said, this game more than any other should tell us who this team is, who they are, how they play, what their identity is. There will be a lot of judgments and opinions by this point. We should have a much clearer picture about whether or not Clint Kubiak and that entire offensive staff that came with so much experience and so much continuity working with each other and the new scheme and everything else, is it working? Did they make the right choices there? Is this young offensive line coming together as we hope that they will and as I expect them to? And the Rams are always going to be the ultimate test for that young defense they have, that they've done such a good job drafting for the last couple of years. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. And then Mike McDonald and his defensive mind against Sean McVay. I just think this could be, obviously it may have major ramifications for the division title, but I just think it's going to be the epitome, the ultimate definition of a statement game. When you're trying to stamp your name on this division moving forward and make an announcement that we're opening up a window here. Mike McDonald was the right hire. We've put a team together. John Schneider and his staff have built a team and a roster that's capable of playing the style of football that Mike McDonald wants to play. And we're seeing that by week 16 become a consistent identity. This could be one of those games that the rest of the league looks at and goes, holy smokes, these two teams are going to battle for the next few years. And then interestingly enough, too, I think the Seahawks have a slight advantage in this one as far as the rest goes. Again, they're one of those teams based on all the analytics that gets the most advantages from extra rest days. I think they're top 5 in the league based on travel and how the schedule falls. Seahawks play Arizona the Sunday before, so back-to-back big-time divisional games with the 49ers looming in Santa Clara week 18 in the finale. But that's a home game, so they don't have to travel and then come back to play a Thursday game. The Rams, meanwhile, faced the Detroit Lions the week before. And even though it's at home, we saw how teams fared the week after playing the Lions last year, just how physical they are, both on offense and defense. And that defense this year looks to be improved. And then, the obvious playoff and potential seeding implications on the line for this one. So again, just as a reminder, my preseason schedule prediction after the schedule came out, I had them actually, I didn't tie the two together at the time. The idea for today's show is new, but I had them losing 2 of these 3 games. I had them losing at Arizona, at Washington, but then winning the Rams game at home and losing down there. And my thought then, just to give you a little teaser for that video, is that I kind of made it a parameter as I was going through that prediction that they were going to split with everyone in the division because I think the division's going to be that good. I was really disappointed that the NFL decided to go with the NFC East for the in-season Hard Knocks this year, especially given that they chose Buffalo for the training camp Hard Knocks. So it's just all Northeast. Really thought, and there were some indications, Tim Kawakami, who covers the 49ers, I hope I got his name right. He's covered them for a long, long time. He does an excellent job of doing that. He had indicated he was hearing that the NFC West was under consideration. The AFC West, I think, would have made a lot of sense too. So I'm a little bummed that we're not going to see that. I'm sure John Snyder's happy. He's never wanted to be on Hard Knocks, so yet another year that he gets to breathe a sigh of relief. But I had them finishing 11-6. And, they could easily win that game at Arizona. They've played really well. I think they've won 9 of their last 10 in Arizona, or 7 of their last 8. And then in Washington, who knows at this point? It's crazy to think about, what these teams might look like this far out in advance. But it's also fun, and that's why we're here. So I had them finishing 11-6. I still feel like the ceiling for this team is potentially 12 wins. I think the floor is like 9. I really do. I feel that good about the changes they made. And I hope I'm right, because we're going to have a lot of fun later in the season, if I am, talking about how so many people were wrong. Vegas was wrong. So many of the national analysts were wrong about the Seahawks, where I think one of the reasons they're getting discounted in so many of these preseason predictions and being picked pretty routinely to finish 3rd or 4th in the division is just because they can't wrap their head around the changes, right? Too many changes. Cooper Kupp for DK Metcalf, Sam Darnold for Geno Smith. Little side note, it's crazy to me. Somebody put this in really good words on Twitter the other day. I should have saved it. I couldn't have said it any better. But during Geno Smith's tenure here in Seattle, he was never really respected by the national media. He was always like, no, he's talented, but he's not really that good, and he hasn't really proven anything. Then he goes to the Raiders, and the general narrative seems to be, wow, the Raiders got a good one. He's going to elevate that organization. While Sam Darnold was the darling of the league last year, getting MVP consideration, but he was stifled the last 2 games. It wasn't all on him. There were some offensive breakdowns there. There's a reason the Vikings swapped out their entire interior offensive line at the end of the season. But he was for the most part a media darling during the season last year. Wow, what a comeback, what a breakthrough. The number 3 overall pick, it's finally looking like one. And now this year it's like, oh, I don't know, Sam Darnold, really? You're going to go from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold? The annual questions about the offensive line, DK Metcalf being gone, and now all of a sudden Cooper Kupp can't replace him when Cooper Kupp was previously a media darling and DK had all sorts of questions and detractors. It's an odd offseason ritual to discount the Seahawks, while also at the same time kind of elevating some of the other teams in the division. So that's where I sit. What do you think? Is there another game on the schedule that you think is going to tell us who this Seahawk team is? Let me know. Also, as I mentioned before, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, hit that like button, and head on over to Patreon and check it out. You can try out a 7-day free trial, and I'll post some stuff over the next 7 days that hopefully you'll like enough to subscribe. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about the freedom that it will afford me to be more creative and do more things. And also, just knowing that you guys won't have to watch any ads. It is totally ad free once you sign up for a membership over there. So until then, follow me on Twitter as well, at Seahawks Forever. And check in with you tomorrow. Justin Mello from the Draft Network is going to be joining me. Excited about this. Really, a lot of you loved his appearance before the draft in breaking some of that down. He does a tremendous job over at the Draft Network. He's going to help me rank the NFC West off seasons of the other 3 teams. And then we'll talk about where he thinks the Seahawks fit into that as well. But we're going to talk about the other 3 teams, start to get to know our opponents with Justin Mello and some of his thoughts. Might pick his brain a little bit about some of his early thoughts, as I did with Garrett Greenlee last week, about the upcoming 2026 college football season and some of the prospects to keep an eye on that maybe might be future Seahawks. Until then, forever and always, go Hawks. Thanks, you guys.